If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. Let's go now. A little life out here. Let's have a little life out here.
What it do, Packer Nation? Welcome to another new episode of Ahead of the Pack. New episode, new music, all the new this week. But what's not new is me joining you, Camille Davis, as your host, joined by Dan Kotnik. Unfortunately, Monty Moore could not join us this week, but we promise y'all we should have the full crew next week. Dan, how are you doing tonight?
I honestly, I've been on cloud nine since Saturday or Sunday night.
Yeah, same.
So little backstory. New month or like 7-month-old daughter going through teething. Sleeping has been awful like the last couple weeks or so. I woke up Monday after like 4 hours of sleep and I was like, it doesn't matter. I don't care because what I watched on Sunday is just breathing life into me the rest of the week. Every day has just felt like brand new. How are you doing?
Yeah, I had the same feeling. Even yesterday, I was like, I'm still thinking about this game. I'm feeling really good about this game still, but unfortunately, we got to turn the page because the Packers are welcoming in the Carolina Panthers to Lambeau this week. And as we start our show, we love to start with what we call the opening drive, where we discuss what we feel are the biggest storylines heading into this week's game. Dan, what will you be looking at in this matchup against the Panthers?
Unfortunately, back-to-back weeks of terrible fashion choices for an NFL team. And can the Packers overcome the terrible fashion on the field by keeping
Wait, you're not a fan of these throwbacks, the blue and the navy?
I despise the. Oh, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Let me. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase.
Okay.
The jerseys look dope.
Yes.
The jerseys, everything kind of around that looks great. I cannot stand the spray painted helmets that look like leather football helmets. It is like I am watching Northern Illinois Buffalo on a Thursday night on ESPN2. It's so cheesy. It just give them a regular helmet. We don't need it to be Maction level stuff. The jerseys are cool. I like all of that. The helmet, I can't abide the helmet.
See, I'm the complete opposite. Maybe because I don't watch college football. Like I know other programs have done this with the look of the leather helmet. So like I've never seen this before because I don't watch college football too often. I was like, you can't really go back to playing leather helmets for a good reason. But I do kind of like the novelty of this particular design. Now, I might change my mind when I see it on the field in live action, but the standalone pictures, cool. I saw some really great gear for fans from this particular colorway too.
Yeah.
But one thing that's always just weird, especially at Lambeau when you're not seeing green and it's like navy, it's like who is this?
Right. It's the the novelty of it works in college football because you have like 130 some teams. Yeah, everyone's trying to carve out a niche, do something unique, do something different. There's 32 teams, guys. You just do a different jersey, keep the helmet, do something else with the helmet. But I'm rolling this into, can they overcome these fashion choices by keeping the momentum going from Sunday? Because we talked on Sunday, or technically on Monday's episode of Pack a Day, about how this game, second half especially, felt like a inflection point for this team, right? Yeah. And they have a real opportunity basically at the halfway point here to take how they finished the first half of the season and springboard themselves into what's going to end up being a gauntlet of a second half.
Really?
Build off of this momentum against a team that you should be able to handle before you jump into the real like heart of everything else. The second half of the season where you got Philly coming in on Monday night, and then you've got 5 of your 6 division games to season. Can we take this and keep it going forward? It's been the crucial question for every Matt LaFleur team. Can they keep momentum going?
That's a great point and a great question too. And to this point too, we've heard the team talk about still searching for like the complete game. Like they still haven't achieved that yet. And we've talked about like, hey, it's October, it's September. We're not really tripping too much on that. There's still a lot of time to develop, but the calendar's turning to November. And as the calendar turns to November, the air gets crisper. You start getting into some of these games that the stakes feel even higher because that first half of the season is done in the book. So either you're chasing, you're trying to keep your standing on the top, or you might be the Saints and you're just trying to figure out quarterback situation is. But I think the momentum's a good one too. And with that, like the offense was really clicking in that last game. At least the pass offense was clicking in that last game. And I do wonder in this one, like we know how important the run game is to the Packers, but I do wonder if this can be a game where they really do try to get Josh Jacobs going because, yes, the Panthers' run defense isn't necessarily bad. They're more middle of the pack than anything else, but they're coming off a game themselves where they got gashed on the ground by James Cook. So I'm sure that defense is looking to like make a statement of like, hey, we're not as bad as what we put on film last week. We're trying to, get that back. So like as the Packers are trying to find their footing in their run game, but also keep what they found in that passing game going forward, like talking about momentum on that side of the ball, I do wonder how that matchup's going to look in this particular game.
Yeah, I mean the run game needs to change. From what it's been the last couple of weeks, whether that I think we can probably stop saying it's the offensive line issues because we kind of were able to, hang our hat on that a little bit. The first couple of weeks where all of the changes are happening and you give them the benefit of the doubt and say, oh, well, maybe maybe they just need time. It's been the same basic offensive line now the last 3 weeks, and we're having it's a worse run game than it was when everybody was coming in and out. So now I think it's on Josh Jacobs, it's on Emmanuel Wilson to make these things happen a little bit more. We see it in spurts, here and there. But yeah, the passing game thing, I think it just it boils down to let's let Jordan Love cook a little bit. We talked. I've kind of banged the drum on this a couple of times
Mhm.
on the show. Let's take the training wheels off. We don't need to scheme. We don't need to scheme the little end around plays to make to open up the defense or do any of that. Like we need less of that trickeration and just
Mhm.
let Jordan run the offense. The magic in the Matt LaFleur offense is how they set things up down the field. It's really not as much of the, jet sweeps from Matthew Golden or Savion Williams wildcat formation. It's how he schemes everything else around it with all of those players.
Mhm.
Give Jordan Love the chance to sit back there, read the defense, and attack down the field. And as you keep doing that, will help open up the run game.
Yeah, the run game is important, and it's interesting to think about because, like last season, when Josh Jacobs and the run game was like really powering the offense throughout the season, really, it comes in the year where Jordan Love's banged up, right? Where
Mhm.
Jordan Love wasn't able to really be the Jordan Love that he wanted to be, and seeing him healthy this year and just watching the movement in the pocket, like I think I mentioned it when we did post game for Steelers and Sunday Night Football, but I was like, I'm surprised he didn't actually even scramble more often in this
Yeah.
game against the Steelers because that's been a part of his game so far this season. Not big numbers or anything like that, but 15, 20 yards or so, just escaping or extending plays, whether it be it on third down or the pocket collapses and he gets out. But Jordan Love being healthy, it really does make me want to be like, man, let him rip. Like let him just go and do it. Take, as you said, quote unquote, take the training wheels off because he is fully healthy and he's operating at a different level right now in the sense of like just his control over the game. We've talked about how he's so stoic. He doesn't ever seem to get too high or too low in the course of a game. Like let him loose. Let him loose. So I definitely get you on that. And I would be an advocate for Jordan Love being able to just get loose a little bit too. And Carolina's pass defense, like we talked about, the rush defense is kind of in the middle of the pack, but the pass defense, like they don't really pressure quarterbacks at a
Right.
high level, but the coverage can be pretty good from Carolina. So it's an interesting matchup in the sense of like Love might have time, and we know when you give Love time, like he can find some stuff, but it's also a team that in the secondary can be a little stingy. So I'll be curious to see how that looks. And one more thing on the running game, because that kind of plays into my thing for the week. Matt LaFleur this week was saying that although the offensive line has been playing together for the last few weeks, he has not been happy with the way that they've been blocking. So I was like, that's kind of interesting to hear him be like, nope, miscommunications, assignments being missed. We have to be better in the operation.
Yeah, and what like it kind of maybe explains why they were rotating Sean Ryan and Jordan Morgan at
Yes.
right guard, which is
I
like
thought that was over.
yeah, we all thought, okay, Jordan Morgan won the spot outright. Here it is. There's your starting five. To have that in a prime time game on the road like that, where you say it's just going to be almost a 50-50 split. This is it at least shows that Matt doesn't. I mean, we saw it with the Nate Hobbs thing. He's not going to just stick with you because you won the job outright at the beginning. If you're falling off, he's going to find ways to improve.
Yeah, that's a big fact. Even him saying like with Nixon, like nothing is safe. Like you need to earn your spot on the field right now. And my question kind of goes to the defensive side of things for the Packers too, for my biggest storyline of the week. And it's, can the Packers slow down the Panthers rushing attack? And I highlight that one because the Packers run defense throughout the season, it's been real solid. It's been like top 3 throughout the season. You saw the last couple of weeks where you saw some teams find some success on the ground against the Packers. And Pittsburgh is so different too, because they just run so many heavy formations where they got 2, sometimes 3 tight ends out there blocking, or even sometimes just extra linemen on the field. So like that run game a little bit different.
Sorry, you mentioned that and it triggered the memory. When I think it was like almost the first play of the game
when they had the linemen split as a tight end.
Yeah, I thought it was Darnell Washington. I was like, man, he's so much bigger than I remember. And I'm like, oh no, they're running a offensive lineman out there on the first play. Yeah, hopefully we won't see that anymore.
That was Pittsburgh does some different things over there, but what Carolina does, we saw Rico Dowdle. He has been doing his job so far this season. Like we saw him have a game where he had 206 rushing yards against Miami and then 183 against Dallas. Like he's averaging nearly 6 yards per carry right now. And then, there's also Chuba Hubbard, by the way, who has been a little unhealthy, but has still played in 6 games so far this season. And you got to respect what he can do. Like Carolina is a top 5 rushing offense right now. And it's going to be a test of like strengths because the Packers defense has been really stout against the run. Like I mentioned, a couple of cracks, but again, you also have Devontae Wyatt back in the fold. So I'm really curious to see the battle between the Panthers run game and then this Packers run defense.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, it's crazy that Chuba Hubbard has now become the second guy on that team, which is kind of scary to think about. Yeah, it's what Cleveland did really well. Quinshon Judkins ran the ball very effectively against this Packers defense. Granted, Devontae Wyatt wasn't there for half of the game, but when lesser teams or teams that are the underdog are able to extend drives, not even so much just plays, but time wise, you keep that defense on the field. You keep Jordan Love and the offense off of the field, and you shorten the game. And when you shorten the game, it gives your offense more of a fighting chance against the other offense, because then it basically almost becomes like a coin flip of you need to execute every single time. There's less room for error. And like I said, we saw that with Cleveland. Now it helps Carolina's defense not as good as Cleveland's defense, so it still isn't as bad. But you still don't want to find your defense in spots where they're on the field for 6-7 minute drives, even if they end up in field goals. If you turn around and you have a characteristic Matt LaFleur 3 and out right after one of those, that can be almost as demoralizing as a turnover at that point. So having Devontae Wyatt will be key This will be probably one of their biggest tests as a running defense that we've seen so far this year. All I'll say is thank God we're getting them at Lambeau, because I think that definitely helps out.
It does. It does. And then too, it looks like it's going to be Bryce Young in this particular
Yeah.
game against the Packers after some debate with him having that ankle injury. So they might even lean on the run game a little bit more, just because like you got to protect your quarterback a little bit, knowing that he's coming off of an injury. So that's the battle in this game where I'm like, I am curious to see how it looks at the line of scrimmage in this one. So something to keep an eye on in the game here. And also a part of the show that I love is connections. Dan, what connections did you find this week between the Packers and the Panthers?
Well, the first one here, former Packers or former Panthers that are now Packers, Adam Stenavich, the offensive coaching staff, spent an offseason with the Carolina Panthers in 2006, was cut from the Panthers. Where did he end up? Right over in Green Bay. Got picked up by Green Bay. Did not play for the Packers. He went immediately over to NFL Europe and was an Amsterdam Admiral, I think is what I saw. So he didn't even have, like, I tried to look it up on Pro Football Reference. He didn't even have I don't think he registered a snap in the NFL. He kind of bounced around at different, training camps here and there, and then immediately realized, like, oh, I need to be a coach, and it's worked out pretty well for Adam so far. On the flip side, though, two very familiar names for the Panthers that are former Packers. Josh Nijman, former left tackle for the Packers, is now on the Panthers. And this one, I don't mean to sound macabre, but it was a nice way to find out he's not dead, and that's Dom Capers.
Wait. I didn't expect you to bring it in that way.
It was when I saw that Dom Capers was working for the Carolina Panthers.
Wait, still currently today?
He's currently a defensive special assistant to the Carolina Panthers.
Really?
He is still working.
Don's got to be like
that's what I'm saying. It was like, whoa, he's still working, but then it was also smart of him, like, oh, he's still alive. Like, great, because I haven't heard from him. I haven't seen him. And when they won the Super Bowl in 2010, that's 15 years ago. He seemed rather old in 2010. Like,
you know what, though? I can guarantee you one thing about Dom Capers. I bet you any money, Dan, his hair is still pitch black. I guarantee it's still pitch black. Yes.
It looks like it was like an Etch-a-Sketch drawing on the top.
Shout out to Dom Capers.
What's the Woolly Willy, the one you can draw the hair on? That's what it always looked like. But shout out to, I'm kind of teasing him a little bit there. Dom Capers is one of the all-time Packer defensive coordinators. Like, he revolutionized the Packers defense in those early Rodgers years.
Yeah. Like, even though it might not have ended the best with Dom Capers, like, when it was good, it was fantastic. So, like, jokes aside, jokes are always funny because that's what a joke is. It's funny. But shout out to Dom Capers.
I mean, but you think about it, like, after Dom Capers left, it was a defensive coordinator wasteland until Jeff Hafley.
I'm so glad that Jeff Hafley has saved us, because it was a wasteland for a little bit there. To the point that even where Jeff Hafley got signed, it was so much skepticism still of like, man, whatever, we got to see it to believe it. Then it's like, oh, interceptions. Oh, look at the play on the field. Oh, look. Oh, pressure. Like, so yeah. Shout out to Jeff Hafley too for that being said. All right, Dan, let's talk about some bets for the week. Now, another weekly segment here where we pick something in the game that you may find in the sports book. Most likely you wouldn't. Mine this week, you would find in the sports book. I just kind of feel like this is the week, Dan. Is this finally the week where Matthew Golden gets his first NFL touchdown? Like, I feel like we're getting closer and closer and closer. And now with Watson back, the snap chances are kind of decreasing a little bit for him because you got to make way for Christian Watson to be on the field at times as well. But I feel like we're gonna get close, especially knowing that it's not a battle per se, but when you got Ted McMillan on the other sideline too, where another hot rookie, I do wonder if this is the week where Matthew Golden finally finds his way into the end zone.
Yeah, it's interesting if you watch the tape. You watch. I'm a big fan of the QB school and JT
Same.
O'Sullivan, and he's kind of pointed out like a couple times like, what's Matthew Golden doing on this route? Like it just you kind of start to see as you rewatch it and you look at it, more with a more discerning eye. It's like, oh, maybe this is why he's kind of not getting, as much love, from love, is that he's kind of having trouble finding his way in this offense, running routes at an NFL type level. Could it possibly be he's going through kind of a rookie thing of upset that he's not getting the love for early on that he kind of thought he was going to be in the offense,
Especially as a first round draft pick.
right? Either way, I think what you mentioned earlier about the pass defense being a little bit more stingy, I think it helps. Last week the Steelers defense awful, so the main guys are going to eat. I think there's going to be more opportunities for somebody like Golden to have Love find him on a second or third read potentially. And so, yeah, I say give it to me at home that Matthew Golden gets to do it in front of the fans.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I'm going to take the bet this week. I think Matthew Golden finally makes his way into the end zone this week. What's your bet?
Mine, same. I went kind of the same way, like something that you could probably find on a regular sports bet. Over 1.5 turnovers on Bryce Young. So interceptions or fumbles. He's we talked about he's been injured a little bit, but still, even when he's been playing healthy, he's one of the worst performing quarterbacks in the passing game. He is, I think, tied for third with the most fumbles by a quarterback. He is, I think, he's definitely top 10 in interceptions this year. He's giving the ball away.
Yeah.
And we saw last week, this defense is starting to string some turnover games together. I think that like you said, like if they maybe try to ease Bryce Young into this game a little bit, maybe those opportunities aren't there. But if they get down in this game, they're going to have to rely on Bryce Young to throw the ball around a little bit. And that gives Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary chances to get in there, strip the ball away, or hopefully I'd love to see a few more picks. Let's get the secondary involved in here as well. But yeah, I think this is a game where the Packers defense gets to eat.
Yeah, hopefully so. That's what I'm hoping too, because the Panthers passing offense ain't been great. Like, doesn't really matter who's under center. Like, the run game is what really fuels their offense too. And when you think about the Bryce Young experience of it all, we know he got benched last season. And since he was unbenched at the second half of last season, he's posted, and this is just since that moment, so half of last season up until this season at this point, 87 passer rating. He's gone 8-9 in his starts. Before he got benched, he had a 70.9 passer rating and a 2-16 record. So yes, he has been better than what we saw before he got benched, but a big part of his game is also the fact that he's a pretty mobile guy. And he's playing on a bad ankle against a pass rush that's going to be pretty vicious. So it could be a situation where young guy getting pressured makes the wrong decision, something that we didn't see. Like if it was an Andy Dalton game where you have a vet,
right,
you can probably get to him a lot easier, but he doesn't tend to put the ball in as much danger as you might see some younger quarterbacks doing. So I could see this being a game where the Packers finally get multiple takeaways. The defense gets multiple takeaways. So I'm actually going the over on that one as well. I think that's a good one because Bryce is coming back from an injury. I think a lot of things would be in the Packers' favor to start getting some of these takeaways back that we saw them really getting last year.
Because have we had a multiple takeaway game? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
So this feels like a good time for the first one to happen.
Yeah.
It feels like a good time for this to be the first one to happen. So that brings us to predictions. Dan, how do you think that this game is going to go? I know last week you didn't want to do it, but you had to be like, you know what? I think it's the Steelers this week. And then the Packers were able to pleasantly surprise you, which is always nice. So this week going into it, a game where the Packers are favored, I think it's a 13-point spread in this game right now. Who you got and what's your score prediction?
Yeah, I did pick the Steelers last week. That was more of a to protect my own heart because
I understand
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. But I've seen the light. The scales have been lifted from my eyes because that second half.
Yeah.
I mentioned this to Monty on Sunday before we recorded. There was a moment where I forget which play he made. It was some throw. I think it was like one of those outs to Tucker Kraft, like on the sideline. And they were showing the replay, and it was in the middle of that 20 completion streak. I just watched it, and I'm not kidding. I teared up a little bit watching it because I was like, this is it. Like, this is the guy that we've been dying to see, the offense that we've been dying to see. It's working at full capacity, and they're just killing it. And I'm like, I was so happy for him. I was so happy he got to do it in that moment, especially. I think this is a springboard for this team. They get to come back home to Lambeau against a Carolina team that is not good. Doesn't matter what we talked about with Dowdle or whatever, McMillan, they're not a good team. I think they go out here and they just explode on both sides of the ball. They come out, I'm going 42-10 Packers at Lambeau.
Okay, so the highest scoring Packer output so far this season is your prediction.
Mm-hmm.
I would love it at Lambeau. That would be fantastic to have a game where you're not stressing. You get to just kind of celebrate and enjoy it. That would be perfect, especially when the Lions and Vikings are playing each other in the same week too, and you just kind of like, and then hoping that weird things happen in the Browns and Bears and Bengals game this week, but we'll see about that. But not about them, about the Packers. I'm going Packers victory. I'm going 33-17 with the Packers covering spread. And just kind of cruising. Not just say cruising. I think they're going to have to make sure they have the proper focus and whatnot, because Ted McMillan, he is a real threat. And we just talked about earlier in the show how for the cornerback room, there's still some open competition to a certain degree based on what they do on the field. So I don't want to say it's going to be a cakewalk, because any given Sunday, we know how it goes. If the Packers start doing some things where special teams puts them in a hole, or penalties, pre-snap penalties and things of that sort, it can become a competitive game really quick. That said, I do think the Packers put their foot down in this particular game. 33-17 is my prediction for this one. So hopefully it comes out with a Packers win on Sunday. So as we wrap here, Dan, where can the good people find you?
On social media, you can find me mostly over at Blue Sky at Dano the Mano is where you can follow over there. And then usually our show Lombardi's Bar Wednesdays at 9:00, but this week we moved to Thursdays. So if you're watching this on Thursday or listening on Thursday, later tonight at 9 p.m. on the Lombardi's Bar YouTube channel, you can find us over there. And then, of course, I get to hang out with Camille and Monty after every game on Sundays for the Monday edition of the Pack a Day podcast.
Yeah, so definitely on the Monday Pack a Day podcast, you can find me as well. Also on the Pack a Day side on the YouTube page, after games with a quick reaction, and on social media at Camille Monet, CAMILOE MONAE on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. Yeah, those are the primary ones I would say I use at this point. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. And as always, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.